Stop what you're doing for a moment and listen closely. Do you notice it? That faint, high-pitched whistle, that steady hiss that feels like it's coming from inside your head rather than the room around you. Most people call it tinnitus. Your doctor may have labeled it age-related, given you a brochure for a white noise machine, and advised you to live with it. But I'm telling you right now, as a medical researcher who has spent years analyzing clinical data, often overlooked, that sound is not a life sentence to noise. It's an SOS signal, a biological warning. Your auditory nerve is signaling for help because it's being deprived of the essential fuel it needs to work properly. And today, I'm going to explain exactly how we can turn that signal off. If you're over 50 and your ears keep ringing, this isn't just an ear issue. It's a cellular nutrition problem. Until that deficiency is corrected, the noise won't stop. I see patients like this every day in my practice. Let me tell you about Roberto, a 62-year-old structural engineer. When he came to see me 7 months ago, he was exhausted. He hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night in 3 years. He said, "Dr. Kent, the specialists say my tests are normal, but I feel like I'm losing control." I reviewed those normal results and told him something important. Normal often reflects an average within an unhealthy population. Your doctor may see a vitamin B12 level at the low end of the range and consider it acceptable. I see that same number and recognize a nerve beginning to lose its protective layer, reacting like a damaged wire. When your auditory nerve misfires, your brain interprets it as sound. That sound is essentially a short circuit. If your tests say everything is fine but your head is filled with noise, the issue may lie in a system that overlooks neurological nutrition. Today, we're going to examine 8 specific causes of these phantom sounds that are often missed in standard care. To understand why the ringing continues, you need to recognize how delicate your hearing system is. Deep within your inner ear is a tiny blood vessel called the labyrinthine artery. It's so narrow that even a single red blood cell barely passes through. Now consider what happens when your body is inflamed or your blood becomes slightly thicker. That vessel tightens. The hair cells in your cochlea, responsible for converting vibrations into sound, begin to lack oxygen. They don't just stop working, they start sending incorrect signals. Research from Newcastle University in 2025 highlighted that tinnitus is not only an ear issue, it also involves the brain's reduced ability to filter these faulty signals. This process, known as neural synchrony, causes brain cells to fire together in repetitive loops. Without improving microcirculation and interrupting that loop, the brain remains stuck processing noise that doesn't actually exist. To reset the system, we must improve blood flow and properly nourish the cells. Let's begin with the first key factor, zinc, not low-quality multivitamins, but effective, absorbable zinc. Your inner ear contains one of the highest concentrations of zinc in the body for a reason. The hearing process produces significant oxidative stress, and zinc acts as a protective antioxidant. Without enough zinc, hearing cells begin to deteriorate. Here's what many people overlook. You may be consuming zinc, but not absorbing it. I refer to these as hidden blockers. High intake of phytates from processed grains or excessive caffeine can prevent zinc from reaching your cochlea. In simple terms, your body may be undernourished despite adequate intake. Roberto followed a healthy diet, but his morning habits were reducing his zinc absorption. We adjusted his routine by adding bioavailable zinc sources like pumpkin seeds and lean proteins, while removing absorption blockers. Within weeks, improvement began, and the intensity of the ringing decreased for the first time in years. Now, there's something important you need to understand. While trying to improve your hearing, you may unintentionally be harming it. There is an entire category of substances known as ototoxic drugs. These include everyday products such as common painkillers like aspirin or certain anti-inflammatory medications, which can directly harm your hair cells through chemical damage. They cause a large release of free radicals, which overwhelms your body's zinc and magnesium defenses. If you are using these regularly for joint pain or headaches, you are essentially trying to put out a fire while adding fuel elsewhere. In Roberto's case, my approach focused on identifying these hidden toxins and replacing them with natural anti-inflammatory options like curcumin and boswellia, allowing his ears the opportunity to rest and recover. However, zinc is only the starting point. We also need to address nerve insulation. Think of a high-voltage power line. If the protective rubber coating is removed, it begins to hum, buzz, and spark. This is similar to what happens in your auditory nerve. When vitamin B12 levels are not within the optimal range, especially as we age and absorption declines, problems begin to develop. This results in demyelination, where the protective sheath around the nerves becomes thinner. When that layer weakens, electrical signals start to leak. The brain interprets this leakage as a persistent buzzing sound. Even if lab results show levels around 300 or 400, for someone older dealing with tinnitus, this is still insufficient. Levels should be closer to 800 to support proper repair. This is where Roberto's doctor overlooked the issue. They focused on not deficient, while I focused on achieving optimal levels for recovery. Now consider why the ringing becomes louder during stress. The reason lies in a chemical called glutamate. Glutamate acts as the brain's accelerator. Under stress, the brain releases large amounts of it into the auditory cortex. Without enough magnesium to act as a braking system, the body enters a state called excitotoxicity. In this state, nerve activity becomes excessive. Signals fire too rapidly and intensely, eventually causing damage to the nerves themselves. This is often referred to as a glutamate surge. It explains why your ears feel worse after a long work day or poor sleep. To manage this, we need to restore that braking system. By supplying the body with proper forms of magnesium through foods like almonds, avocados, and dark leafy greens, we help reduce this overactivity. This effectively lowers the internal amplification, signaling the nerves to settle down. And if you still believe vitamin D only supports bone health, that perspective is outdated. Research published in Frontiers in Neurology in early 2026 has significantly changed how we understand its role. Vitamin D3 is a neurosteroid. It controls the expression of hundreds of genes in your nervous system, including those responsible for protecting your auditory pathway. The research is clear. People with chronic, bothersome tinnitus tend to have much lower D3 levels than those who do not. Why? Because D3 acts like the repair manager of the body. If that manager is missing, the repairs do not happen. You remain stuck in a cycle of ongoing inflammation. Many of you avoid sunlight or use excessive sunscreen, which drives your D3 levels down. You need about 15 minutes of direct morning sunlight, or you should prioritize foods like wild-caught salmon and eggs to provide your auditory nerve with the resources it needs to recover. Have you noticed the ringing gets louder at 3 a.m.? It is not only because the room is quiet. Your ears follow a circadian rhythm. At night, your body enters a repair phase. If the raw materials are missing, zinc, B12, magnesium, the repair process slows down. The brain then detects the faulty signal and amplifies it to identify the issue. This creates a neural feedback loop. To address this, your final meal of the day should be the most nutrient-dense for your auditory system. We time your intake to align with your body's repair cycle, encouraging the brain to recognize a corrected signal. At the same time, we must reduce the noise by addressing another issue: thick blood. Your inner ear is supplied by vessels thinner than a human hair. If your blood carries inflammatory markers, it becomes sluggish. It cannot effectively deliver nutrients like B12 or zinc to the hair cells. This is where omega-3 fatty acids help. They act as natural lubricants for the ears, making cell membranes more fluid, flexible, and active. When combined with a vascular approach using natural vasodilators like ginger and garlic, you effectively improve circulation. This allows nutrients to finally reach the deprived cells. I observed this in Roberto during his 4th month. He said, "Dr. Kent, the noise is still there, but it feels farther away. It is no longer in the front of my mind. That indicates improved blood flow reaching the auditory nerve." So what does this mean for you tonight? I want you to commit to an auditory-focused dinner. Start with a portion of wild-caught baked salmon for D3 and omega-3s. Pair it with a large salad of baby spinach for magnesium, topped with raw pumpkin seeds for zinc. Dress it with olive oil, fresh lemon juice, and grated ginger to support microcirculation. This single meal delivers a strong biological supply of what your ears need. Do not expect immediate results within 24 hours. Your nerves may have been deprived for years, so recovery will take time. Based on my research, the first signs of relief often appear between week 3 and week 6. Roberto did not just regain quiet, he regained quality of life. Last month, he shared a photo of himself in a park playing with his 8-year-old daughter. He told me, "Doctor, I can hear her laugh again without the ringing competing for my attention. That is the reason I do this work. That is why I question standard conclusions. Because you deserve quiet. You deserve to rest at night hearing only your own breathing." Share this video with someone who is struggling, because many are told there is no solution when support may begin with simple changes. Let me know in the comments how long you have experienced this ringing. I read your stories and they guide my future research. I am Dr. Michael Kent, and your health is the only metric that matters. I will see you in the next consultation.